be so. And you know my name. I give you glory. Abba Father, you know me. You know my name. Abba Father, you know me. You know my name.
Abba Father, you know me. You know my name.
You know my name, oh Daddy. I can see your hand in my life. Lord, I see your love upon me. Every time I look around, now you are the see. Every time I turn around, now you are the view. I dey hear your voice in my heart. Lord, I feel your love over me. Every time I look around, now you are the see. Every time I turn around, now you are the pillow. I'm a father, you know my name. Papa, you know me. Yelele, 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 yelele. Yelele, 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 yelele. Yeah, yeah. Jesus, your love, now oh. My master, your kindness, now wonder oh. Every time I look around, now you are the sea. Every time I turn around, now you are the view. Jesus, you said I be a picking, no. Jesus, you said your love will cover me. Every time I look around, now you are the sea. Every time I look around, now you are the pillow. Abba Father, you know me, you know my name.
Abba Father,
Yeah.
you know me. You know my name.
Papa, you know my name, oh. Hey.
You know me. You know my name.
Yelele, 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 yelele. Yelele, 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 yelele. Yeah, yeah. Abba Father, you know me, you know my name. Abba Father,
You know me. You know my name.
Papa, you know my name, oh.
You know me. You know my name.
Yelele, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah. Yelele, 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 yelele. Yelele. Oh, oh. Abba Father, you know.
Thank you very much, Reverend Sama, for joining me in the studios today, the 17th of November 2022. And I want to assure you that today is going to be another day with another difference. Yes, why is it so? It's because we are taking up a very important subject matter today, and I would like you who is over there, please to share the link, because he reigns. And who is reigning? No other person but him who has Ambazonia in heart. All right, let's go.
This time, oh, now Jesus the reign. He reign
Ireno, Irene, Ireno, 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 Ireno. This time, oh, now Jesus the reign. Ireno, 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 Ireno. This time, oh, now Jesus the reign. Even for time for trouble, now Jesus the reign. Ireno, Irene, Ireno, this time, oh, now Jesus the reign. Irene, Ireno, 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 this time, oh, now Jesus the reign. I dey see trouble for every corner, oh. I dey see sickness for every country of the world. I dey see fear for many faces, oh. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Ireno, this time, oh, now Jesus the reign. Irene, yeah, yeah. Ireno, 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 this time, oh, now Jesus the reign. Irene, yeah, yeah.
Greetings once more to the people of Ambazonia, especially to our ARFs at home front, and welcome to this very special program today, Church and Politics. But in Church and Politics, we'll be talking much of our history to let Ambazonians know that church and politics cannot be separated, just like the person who is a politician is the same person who is a church person. If we had different people who were politicians and different people who were church people, we would have separated what we are talking about. But because spirituality and the politics goes together, and that is how God ordained it, and He's our creator, we must not fail to tell Ambazonians that there is a difference between politics and politics. There is a difference between church and religion. I have been explaining that over and over and over again. A church person is that person who has handed over to Jesus and is believing that he has transformed him and he's helping him to live a life that is expected by God. A politician is somebody who has taken the root meaning of politics, which is activities associated with governance. But a religious person is that person who refuses justice to say it when it is time to say it. And a politician is that person who tricks the people in order to have his way and go with it. That is my personal definition. You can call it commandoism. I will agree with you. Anyway, today in our program, we have our elderly statesman who has worked and who worked with the British Southern Cameroons, West Cameroon, and also worked with La République du Cameroon when they gradually took us and were dismantling us without us knowing. Somebody told us that in physics, if you put a frog inside water and you put it in a particular temperature, as you are warming the water little by little, the frog will be changing its temperature to adjust to the heat that is coming before it realizes it is burnt off. And that is the method that the Republic took to gradually. Before we jumped out, it was a little bit too late. But today, 21st century, we say it is no longer 1950s or 1960s. And our father who is in here in the studios, who happened to have worked in these two sites, please, the phone number is on. He will be sharing some few thoughts with us and some few questions that were asked him some time ago. And then the lines are open for you to call and ask him a question. Pa, I want to let you know that some young men who have been very zealous and clamoring to think that they know more than us, the older people. When I told him a bit of where we are coming from, he said, I surrender. So most of our people are doing what they are doing because of ignorance. And we may think that they are doing it because they just want to do it. They are doing it because they don't know where they are coming from and why we are where we are here today. But elderly people like you, like the statement you made some time ago, which is still biting in the hearts of the people. Ambazonians, I want to tell you that Pa Michael is in the studios, and I'm handing over the microphone to him to begin to tell us some of the things that you should know so they can spur you up to stand up against the strategies of France through La République du Cameroon to dismantle our resolve to go to Boya. The mechanism is already set in place, but many people who don't know how they work are already falling prey into it. But we are telling France and La République du Cameroon that we are in the 21st century and that they will not be able to play that game again because God has preserved our fathers to tell us more of how we were so that that appetite can spur us up to stand up and defend our land. Congratulations to all of you on home front who are standing tall and refusing everything about Ambazonia. I mean, about La République du Cameroon, sorry, about La République du Cameroon. I'm just getting some images coming in from GTHS, GBT, how do you call it? In Quen, the government technical high school in Quen. The children are rioting, breaking things, and I've not really gathered the story, but we shall be telling you the story. That is the repression that La République put us into. And we are not into that today. So, Pa, the microphone is yours. Just go ahead, greet the people of Ambazonia, and tell us what you have to tell us today, and we pick up from there. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and special greetings to those back home who are listening to us. I had a few questions the last time on the Peace Corps and the intended University of Science and Technology in Bambeling, which did not materialize. I want to throw some light on how all this came to pass and why those lofty programs by the West Cameroon government were sabotaged. To think about that, you have to go back to the time when Kennedy was elected president of the United States. In his campaign, he stopped at the University of Michigan and he delivered a speech which he repeated again at his inauguration. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." The genesis of the Peace Corps movement came from that speech. And in 1961, he appointed Mr. Shriver as the first director of the Peace Corps. Now, if most of you are too young to know when the Peace Corps came to Cameroon, but the first batch of Peace Corps came shortly after Kennedy became president. And I think Southern Cameroon was one of the first countries to receive this first batch of Peace Corps. The Peace Corps were volunteer Americans who were requested to go out and help countries that needed support in their development efforts, uh, showing them exactly what American values and commitment are. Um, so it turned out that Southern Cameroons, at the time so-called West Cameroon, had prepared a, an education policy document, which I mentioned the last time, uh, which was used in the discussions between the Kennedy administration and the government of Southern Cameroons. At the time, they were discussing at the UN whether or not we were going to be independent or whether we'll get a plebiscite and so on. Kennedy followed up those discussions with a supply of a large number of road construction equipment, which was handed to PWD. We used to look at these vehicles that have had the word MAN, M-A-N, written on them, very huge vehicles. And then he followed that up with the first batch of Peace Corps. And these Peace Corps volunteers that came to Cameroon and to Southern Cameroon were deployed in all secondary schools and all teacher training colleges and all technical schools like Ombe. And in fact, some also worked with the community development department in promoting native crafts. If some of you have been to Bamenda, you will know that there is a cooperative craft just as you go up Bamenda Station Road that was built there uh, to bring together uh, art from far off villages where the artsmen could not come out, carvings, paintings. Carvings is still one of the most important items you find in that handicraft shop today. But it was an American Peace Corps that worked with uh, villages all over the northern zone to develop that program. The other Peace Corps, the majority all went to these colleges I talked about. They taught science, they taught mathematics, they taught English, they taught English literature. And they, within the short time we got there, they really raised the standard of science education in Southern Cameroons. And then we had one special program within this new Peace Corps program, which was led by a renowned American professor, Dr. Foster. And he came out with the express duty of expanding and developing Cas Bambly into a Cameroon University of Science, Technology, and Art. The first equipment he brought out got to Bambly, and Bambly soon had a science lab that was second to none in the whole of the so-called federation. Um, we didn't know as students in CAST how different our science lab was in comparison to labs in La Republique until Mr. William Etekimbuma, who was at the time the Minister of Education, was forced to come to CAST because we organized a strike because they were trying to dilute the syllabus. We organized a strike, and we were lucky because the senior district officer in Bamenda at the time was a gentleman from Manyu and well schooled in the Anglo-Saxon administrative system. And when the minister showed up in Bamenda, he wanted to take gendarmes to our campus. And the SDO told him, no, we can't have soldiers in the campus. You have to come with me. I go to there without bodyguard, so you come with me without a bodyguard. And when he came to CAST, he was shocked, surprised, and alarmed at the quality of equipment in an institution which Yaoundé thought was just another lycée. Um, Nobody told me this, but he himself, when I met him many years back in Ethiopia, and he was trying to find out where I came from in Cameroon, and I reminded him that we organized the strike. And he told me that before he came to CAS, he had no idea of what the institution he was going to look like. And when he was taken into the science lab, he was flabbergasted by the equipment there. And he said, this is for a university. And Foster said, yes, we're here to develop a university. But when he went back, the rest of the suppliers that were coming by ship were blocked at Douala Airport and left to rot there. They had never been cleared to this date. Dr. Foster could not move ahead with his expanded program because he saw major modifications being taking place. The first one was that the Germans used to finance, I think if I'm not mistaken, about the top 10 best students coming into CAS. They paid their fees. And then the so-called federal government was supposed to provide fees for the next 10. And the Southern Cameroon government was supposed to provide a scholarship fees for another 20 or so. And the rest of the students were supposed to apply for scholarships from their local cooperative departments or units. And Yaoundé immediately told the Germans that they have to give them that German scholarship to operate. And the Germans said, no, we cannot. The British gave in to them, but the Germans refused. And since there was a fighting between the Germans and Yaoundé, we started school without most students, including myself, knowing where our fees would come from. And when the battle went on for so long, Dr. Foster told the principal, Dr. Ngwana, that he will pay for the upkeep of the school till this crisis is resolved. And Dr. Ngwana said, but we don't know when this crisis will be resolved. I said, don't worry, I will pay. Because he had enough money to build a university. And so for a whole semester, Dr. Foster was the financier of CAS Bambly. And in the end, we began to see the French bringing in French teachers, which created a big problem for us because we were preparing for A levels and didn't want to have any time some fellow coming and disturbing us with what we call Mamadou Benita at the time. Uh, we revolted against these two French teachers who came in because we argued that Bruce doesn't know them. Bruce was the guy who signed the GCE certificates in England. And we say, Bruce doesn't know these two guys, so we don't care about them. But that's how La République gradually reduced and finally eliminated most of the assistance that was targeting the people of southern Cameroon after independence. And the Peace Corps program now suddenly became a national Peace Corps program. But those who were sent to La République de Cameroon spent most weekends with their colleagues who were in what was at the time West Cameroon. And the stories they told were that really there is no system over there. What is surprising today is that if you pick up anything written about the Peace Corps in Cameroon, you are likely to see only stories about the Peace Corps from the sort of 1975. That's after Southern Cameroon lost its state status and became just a region of La République. So I'm narrating this story because it is very important for us to understand that this crisis we are in didn't start in 2016. It didn't even start in 1991. It started right from the onset of La République occupation of Southern Cameroon, military occupation of Southern Cameroon. And the Peace Corps program, which was such a wonderful program because there are many, many Southern Cameroon intellectuals of my generation and the generation behind me that benefited from that program. But it came from a president who was committed to seeing countries develop. Unfortunately, he was assassinated November 22 in 1963 in Dallas, Texas. And the US president who took over from him, LBJ Johnson, was a Southern politician and he had neither the vision nor the drive of John F. Kennedy. And so he was not very keen on reinforcing this partnership that Southern Cameroons had developed with Kennedy just before it became independent. And so everything now went into a complete diplomatic nonsense, just embassy to embassy, state to state. That very particular dialogue with Southern Cameroons ceased to exist. And the process, I can tell you, was very bitter for our people because the scholarships that were provided by the Germans for Southern Cameroons were now
See.
very quietly handed over their own scholarship program to La République de Cameroon with no noise. And so this is how I want everybody to understand that these are the genesis of the problem that we face. Um, all that equipment that was taken from CAST has never been returned, and nor has it been replaced. And La République very quickly found a solution to devalue the status of CAST as a future university by introducing a junior secondary level, because in their effort to make everybody understand that it is just like every other secondary school. And once you eliminate that, then you don't have people getting bitter about a University of Arts, Science, and Technology, which was supposed to be there. And if you look at many other things, that's the tactic they have used. They use gradually and effectively they eliminate. But as Raymond was saying, a frog sits in a bowl of boiling water, which initially is freezing cold, and gradually the temperature rises, and he still thinks, oh, I can adjust. And that's what we did. And we have to concede that we did that. We thought we could adjust. People thought we could adjust.
Wow.
When I argued with my peer, when I visited home, they all assured me things would change, and things
Wow.
didn't change.
Thank you very
So
much,
that's
Pa, for
a brief that I wanted to give you, but perhaps there are
yes.
some people who like to ask
It's very, very
questions. One
educating.
of the things that I forgot to say is that it is also the Peace Corps who really introduced basketball on a large scale in southern Cameroon. And I was very proud to be one of the boys who played basketball for the Southern Cameroon team when we were having this university, college and university sports. We didn't know basketball until the Peace Corps came. We knew football, that's all. Okay,
So, did you win some trophies, Pa?
yes, within West Cameroon, yes, one trophy, but in East Cameroon, we came uh, fourth in fact
Okay.
third, paired with the Western Province, and to imagine
Okay.
that they had been practicing basketball for donkey years, and we came just within 2, 3 years, were able to compete at a level.
Wow.
Even Littoral beat us by just a few points. And it tells you the
Yeah.
quality of training that the Peace Corps brought along.
Thank you very much, Pa.
Yes.
People of Ambazonia, I don't know where you guys are now, but I'm sure you have heard from the horse's mouth that this our struggle did not start in 2016. Neither did it start in the 1990s. It started from the very moment the former British Southern Cameroons accepted the proposal, whether forcefully or otherwise, to join with the Republic of Cameroon. And this manipulation started gradually, like erosion. When the water is hitting the ground, you may not perceive it until you get up after some years. You see a big gutter that you cannot cross over. When it was eating, it was not making noise. That has been the modus operandi of La République de Cameroon, and it is still continuing. I want to just play something here very briefly, and then let us hear, and then I will tell you what that is. It is circulating already in the social media, and when I try to find out, I was told that it is not just a joke, it is a reality. Now, I would like Ambazonians to just listen. Just listen. Then I'll talk about what Pa is just telling us about trying to disintegrate and bring down the standard of our educational system. Listen.
Every type of these three of the French policy have their function. In the policy of the thief, the quantity of good is and the route is determined at advance. In the policy to the fee, the quantity of good is not determined. The duration of the contract of the insurance is indefinite. For example, if I want to ship my good to China, I can use the policy on the trip. My good is one container. I will travel with to Cameroon to China. That is the route. That is the route, and the quantity of goods. That is this in the
So, Pa, Pa, can you? This is a lecturer on economics in the University of Bamenda. So, can
Yes.
you tell us whether she's speaking English or speaking French or speaking broken or speaking one of our native languages?
It's it's not only there. There's it's not only there. There are many other situations in which La République is not ashamed to humiliate itself. Um, it is in all areas. As I said earlier on, when a taking woman saw uh, what Dr. Foster, the Peace Corps uh, guy who had been sent to Cameroon to set up this University of Arts, Science and Technology, had done in so short a time. One would have expected somebody in search of excellence to say, "Oh, I would like you to come down to Yaoundé and discuss with me how we can multiply this level of science labs in all our lycées." That's what you will expect of a person in search of excellence. But La Republique's only solution to that admiration by Etekin Buma was to transfer gradually some of the equipment from Bambi to Yaoundé, a university that had no lab that one could call a lab at the time. And so you see, their desire was not to say, this is good, this is something we can emulate. No. I mentioned earlier on that the Peace Corps that were finally being pushed to East Cameroon were, first of all, not welcomed by the French colonial masters in Yaoundé. They didn't see why Ahijo would have asked for Peace Corps to go to East Cameroon. But they did not have the preparation that West Cameroon had to welcome the Peace Corps. When the Peace Corps message was confirmed by the US government, the Southern Cameroon government made sure that in each of these colleges, the buildings to house these people were put up very quickly. And so they were well accommodated. But the French look at anything that is nearing standardized anything, it has to be destroyed. And so instead of advocating the standardization of the cast science lab in other lycées like Jos and or whatnot, La Republique just decided that they don't deserve. And I picked just this example, but if you take every other area of human endeavor, this is what happened in Southern Cameroon. And I challenge anybody to tell me an activity that La Republique found in West Cameroon that they decided to emulate. There isn't any, because the goal set by France for them was assimilation. And assimilation means you humiliate the people to a level where they cease to see themselves as an entity. So that guy on the video you have just played is um, is a colonial agent. Because if he were not a colonial, how on earth does he find himself standing in front of a university classroom in Bamenda or in Buya or in Kumba? What are
Yeah.
his credentials to teach?
Yes,
So that's
I think,
a situation which you will find in all fields.
yeah, I would just want us to fast forward, and we are looking forward to another time. Please, Amazonians who are listening to some of these fundamentals that you have not known, and you think that the war between the British Southern Cameroons, West Cameroon, and now Ambazonia started yesterday, you are making a big mistake. It was a plan to systematically erode us and take us out of the map of the world. And not only that, but to deprive our people of the liberties that other people and other nations have in their countries that were equally given to them by God, as God gave us Ambazonia. When we look at the position in which we find ourselves, we'll discover that we are in between two giants. Why did we not merge during the independence of Nigeria on the 1st of October 1960? Why did we not merge with the Republic of Cameroon in their independence on the 1st of January 1960? It's because God has a purpose. And the purpose, I've always told people, that God wanted Ambazonians to teach the Nigerians, teach the Republic of Cameroon some honesty, sincerity, justice, and we got mixed with these people and did everything to teach them honesty. But the tribe that we were very close to in Nigeria showed us pepper. And then we came over to an angel we thought it was, not knowing that it was a devil, La Republique du Cameroon. And they put their mechanism in place, not as brutal as Nigeria did, would have run out like Indele did, but they came very subtly and planned it very, very well. And today, we are in this mess. And just like he has said, they started with our educational system and other things followed. It's a long history, we'll not go into that. But the only thing I want to ask Pa to comment now is you are still alive, sir, and you are seeing the way we came in forcefully with everything in place to go back to Boya, and the method that I probably had used before with some of our people, we are seeing it gradually manifesting. And if people don't know the history of where we came from, they will think that these people are shouting, let's go to Boya, let's go to Boya, let's use to Boya. But their activities and their actions are a clear proof that they are just backing dogs. Something has gone under the table. Do you think that if we keep quiet as the interim government and we don't shout it out and allow these people who are making what we are making, and we say, okay, let's surrender to them, do you think we shall ever arrive Boya to have our own country with what is presently going on now with La Republic using the same old methods but in a very tactful way? Over to you.
Um, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I had mentioned in my first discussion in this forum that people develop themselves. I also added that the two systems that operated in Southern Cameroon on the one hand and in French Cameroon on the other hand are totally incompatible. And because they are incompatible, and unfortunately because one side doesn't take the decisions on its own, the two systems can never function together. What do I mean by that? Southern Cameroon was a small, very dynamic country that moved fast to draw from the British administrative system elements that made them comfortable, that made them accountable, that made them develop fast. And they took all the decisions themselves. Now, La République is a French colony that had never been independent. So it does not run its affairs. Even the so-called negotiations that I hear people throwing up, those cannot happen unless France decided that, okay, I think we're fed up with this thing, go and negotiate. No, unless that happens, it doesn't. I want to make an illustration of what I meant. There was a year when Jacques Chirac came to Cameroon, and his ambassador reported that the assimilation program was not progressing at all. And this is why they went ahead and dissolved the the Southern Cameroon's government, which at the time they called West Cameroon. They had to dissolve that government because they saw that the government was moving fast ahead with its development plans in spite of all the obstruction that were being put in his way by East Cameroon. And therefore, they concluded that if they had to assimilate Southern Cameroon, then there should be no government there. So we should understand the abolition of the West Cameroon government not in the terms of what he just said, that it's expensive, but in the terms of the French government's desire to speed up an assimilation program they started in 1961.
Wow.
So we should not kid ourselves that we can uh, bite and blow and get to a settlement.
Okay, Pa.
Never achieve goals. For me, the two systems are totally incompatible.
Yes, that's very clear. All right. Thank you very much, Pa. We are coming to a close of this program. We started a bit late, but we have gained some time, and
Thank you.
we're almost giving up. But we'll have to come back and continue. But the point I want to drive home to Amazonians is that from the horse's mouth, Pa was there in 1961 with West Cameroon, and later on worked with La République du Cameroon, saw all the systems, and his conclusion, which is not his, it is the general view of every Amazonian who is conscientious and sincere and not out to take money that he will die and live by punishing other people, is that the two systems cannot work together. We cannot, no matter how many conferences we have to discuss to work together, La République has not changed. And the key note is that La République is not working on its own as Ambazonia is working on its own. La République is controlled by France, and they will do only what France wants them to do. If France is tired and say, okay, go and discuss, La République will come and discuss. La République, we mistakenly think that they are independent, but every other person knows that they are not independent. Not only La Republique, but a cross section of the French African countries. None of them is independent because everything is coming from France. We have recently seen they have played a game and played a game and now reprinted the same CFA franc, which is nothing to compare. France is no more using France in their place, they are using euro, but then they are printing France for African nations to put them in bondage. And this time around, they played a fast one by putting English and putting Arabic on the paper note so as to deceive the Africans the more. But the earlier we jump out and know these games that they are playing, the better for Ambazonia. I'm talking particularly for Ambazonia because we are not under the yoke of France. I watched a video, I don't think it is Photoshop, as the crises are going on in Mali. I saw a big caterpillar breaking vehicles because I am told that the Malians have actually said no, and there is a total unrest in that place as far as the French is concerned. So they are breaking their vehicles, and this is not the first time I'm hearing. I've also heard that they did that in one of their West African countries. I don't know whether it's in Gambia or whatever, but the same scenario is going. So this wickedness is inbuilt. These demons, these evil spirits, they are inbuilt. That what was done in the early 60s, here in the 2020s, it is still being carried out. It means there is a particular demon that is involved and in charge. And I do not know these Ambazonians who call themselves elites, who are arranging and planning to go back and retry La République du Cameroon, whether a leopard has ever changed its skin to look like a hairy lion. It has never happened. La Republic has not repented. They have not changed because they are still with their colonial master who has put oppression. When you listen to a French person, you hear the language of oppression. When they come closer to you, you smell oppression. When you go under their rule, you see oppression. Now, they've tried to subjugate Ambazonians over the years. It has not worked. And we have found an opportunity to riot and come out of their grip. But unfortunately, some of our cousins who call themselves Ambazonians are still tying up to play a game and put us into another yoke of bondage. This generation says no. And until La Republique and those people who call themselves elite will wipe out all of us and then start to give children anew to acclimatize to what La Republique is doing, we are not going to settle down for any union or any relationship with La Republique du Cameroon. They must go their way and we must go their way, our way. Now, finally, tell us and conclude. In the days that you saw all this and the people saw all this and they were trying to do, we know that these people were eliminated. Gomja was eliminated and so on. Now, did the fight reach this level which we are today? Just tell us and then we conclude from there and give chance to the other program that is coming. Over to you.
Thank you. Actually, my generation, those who were against, were fighting individual wars because we didn't have the critical mass to deal with the problems. And a good number assumed that things will gradually improve. But having worked in La République for 2 years, 8 months, and then eventually spent most of my career working in Francophone West African countries, I saw the evil in the French system. In Guinea, where I worked, they destroyed everything. They took up even electric bulbs from the government offices there because Guinea voted against France Afrique. I worked in Haiti, where the French were defeated, when Napoleon was defeated militarily by slaves, and they established the country of Haiti. The French at the time were able to convince the developing countries or the developed countries that all foreign earnings of Haiti should be handed over to France. When recently President Aristide calculated how much that costs and put out the estimate of $21 billion, the French immediately got into cahoots with some American political leaders and shipped him out of the place in the middle of the night. Till today, they are still trying to make sure that this does not happen. So this is what happens to any people who do not come together and organize. Uh, my individual fight and other of my colleagues' individual fights either ended up in us leaving the country or many being carried to their graves with a La République flag on their coffins. So we don't want that to happen again.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for educating and talking sincerely to the Amazonian people. Should I promise them that you are coming back for another episode?
Well, if they have questions or clarifications that they need from me to throw light on, I will.
Okay.
This is
Ladies and
a national
gentlemen,
duty.
yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is at this juncture that we call it quit for today with Pa Michael. Thank you very much for coming. The Amazonian people really, really appreciate you, and we look forward to having you on board whenever it is necessary and we need you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that the Amazonian people are determined, and we must continue, and we must stand and do that which we're supposed to do. As I told you, don't go away. Reverend Dr. Victor is right in the house, and he will be coming up very, very shortly to make sure that you get what you have to get in the liberation prayers today. Before he comes up, I want just to let you know that uh, Ambazonia is pushing forward, and we are not in any way dropping what we have to do and what we are doing. So Ambazonia is coming up very, very powerfully. And so, Reverend Dr. Victor, before he comes in to pray for you, I want you to know that he also buys the idea of this story that you have to tell. And I would like you to just listen very briefly to this story that this brother is telling, and we'll see whether at the end of the day you will be able to get into the same situation he got into, and today he is confessing that something is very, very different as far as he is concerned. So before I bring in Reverend Victor, just hold your seat, and then let's get Reverend Dr. Sama to come in. Sorry, Reverend Sama to come in and then tell us the story he's been telling everyone. which is very, very important, a story. All right, Reverend, come in, please.